Assalamu alaikum and welcome to our special series in the month of Muharram, our Ark of Salvation series, and we have a series of discussions with Sayed Mustafa Qazwini, who's here over in London. And we're going to be, inshallah, covering a number of social and also religious subjects. Today we're going to be exploring how can we raise the status of Muslim women living in the West. What are the main issues that need to be covered for Muslim women to improve their situation? Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for coming to the studio, and again, very important topic that we're going to cover, especially in the month of Muharram, which of course the tragedy of Karbala involves very much the women in the family of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and that's much to reflect upon when we think about how the women, Muslim women, are in the world today, especially in the Western countries. To begin with, what would you say is the first point with regard to how Muslim women can improve their situation?
First of all, I think we have to learn from the revolution of Ashura. The participation of women was very acknowledgeable there, and the role that women played, especially Lady Zainab alayhi salam and her sisters and the daughters of Imam Hussein, and also some of the wives of the companions of Imam Hussein, they played a very important and significant role in the day of Ashura, and before and after that, of course. And I think women in the West, they ought to be more responsible and more committed to their families and to their cause and ultimately to their religion. One of the most important points that women should take care of is their education. I think education is a must for women. It is unacceptable nowadays that a mother, a daughter, a wife would skip school, for instance, and then she wants to raise children. This is almost impossible nowadays. Education is part and parcel of our life.
Yeah.
And we need it, especially we need education and learning and knowledge in the process of raising our children. The mother is the first educator. She is the first teacher. And oftentimes women, especially in the Islamic culture, Islamic society, they blame men for their problems, for not being equal with men. They put it on this patriarch, so-called society. But I think women are responsible for their conditions, for improving their conditions. Yeah. They are the ones that create respect and honor and influence for themselves. And influence comes when you are educated, when you know how to deal with your family, with your children, how to raise them. You know, maybe 40, 50, 60 years ago, women were banned from going to schools in some Muslim societies and communities. But nowadays there is no excuse. Education is available for them. Even higher education is available for them. And they must go to school. They must go to college, to university. Some of them say, well, I am too busy with my kids, with my husband. I don't think. I have seen examples that there were some mothers who had 5 or 6 kids, yet they were able to do to accomplish their PhD thesis. Because the husband was cooperative with them. Sometimes some friends, some family members would help them out with their kids. So the more the wife or the daughter or the mother is educated, the safer the family is going to be. The safer the family is going to be. And they can reconcile that with their with other duties at home. If they have a husband who can understand her, he can take sometimes responsibility of the kids, and he would allow his wife to go to school. There's nothing wrong with that. However, sometimes we come to a scenario where a mother, she has maybe 2 or 3 little kids, and they need attention, they need their mother's attention, And if she wants to go to school, then she has to spend the majority of her time and her energy and her effort on her studies. Here we're going to have some conflict.
Yeah.
The journey is not going to be easy. Maybe she can postpone, maybe, for a few years until her kids are, you know, little bit grown up. Or maybe she has someone in the family who can help her, a sister, a mother, someone else, or the husband. He is willing to put his time, his effort in keeping, you know, the kids, an eye on the kids and raising them while his wife is studying. However, I think if there is a will, there is a way. Education is very important for our women nowadays. And the wife who does not learn, she has no knowledge, and she doesn't care about education, I think she cannot be a role model, an example for her children.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, also, of course, this goes for women before they get married or before they have children as well. So often we can see there are young Muslim women who do study very hard, but yeah, there are also others, and I've seen it with my own eyes, who I don't quite understand the reason where they haven't, you know, they're not in the habit of reading or of attaining a high standard of education, and I think also just reflecting on, you know, the impact this is going to have on the next, you know, generations. They don't quite realise what that impact is. We can't afford to spend our lives sitting and not doing anything.
Yeah.
Really.
You said something important. They are not in the habit of reading and learning and going to class. Yes, because the society does not encourage them. When the society does not encourage women to go and learn, all of them are sitting at home either watching TV or spending their time shopping and socializing, dinner here and, you know, lunch there. Then, of course, she would not find it necessary for her to go and learn. But when most women, when society starts to encourage women to go and learn, the husbands themselves, they say to their wives, listen, I want you to go to study, to learn. I want someone compatible with me. When we sit over, you know, dinner table, we discuss things, you know, issues that you can relate to me, I can relate to you. When we have this climate of encouragement, then they would find themselves obliged to go and learn and keep themselves, you know, up to date with the current situation. So it's about the whole society. It's not just about one individuals. We really have to encourage women all the time. The Prophet, peace be upon him, says, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم ومسلمة. He uses both terms, the masculine and the feminine. And he's the role model, he's the example, his wife, Khadija, and other wives, of course, and his daughter, Fatima al-Zahra, the most knowledgeable. She used to keep books, you know. Mushaf Fatima is a book of her notes. Whenever her father said something, whenever her husband, Imam Ali, said something, she would immediately keep it in a book. So this is a lesson for our women, that you must take care of yourself by going to school and by learning. And the process of learning does not end at the age of 30 or 40 or 50. It's an ongoing process.
That's true. I mean, another issue, of course, moving on to, I mean, you've touched upon the role of husbands. Thinking about, again, the state of marriage, we know in all of the world now, it's not just the Western countries and the Muslim countries as well. There is, you know, we know there's this high rate of divorce going on, and there's a real breakdown in communication, and this is again sowing the seeds for a very unstable future for Muslim community everywhere. What are the steps that a woman can take to try to overcome this situation that, you know, perhaps what are some of the, sometimes women may perhaps have less resilience or less patience when they're thinking about what they want out of a marriage, or they might not be able to handle the difficulties of a marriage so well.
I think women in their roles are examples and teachers, trainers, educators. Even men at certain difficult times, they seek refuge. They go to their wives. We have this, the clearest example of that is Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he received the revelation, the first person he went to was his wife, Khadija. And he confided in her and he told her the story. And of course, she comforted him. So women are the refuge for the entire family, for their daughters, for their sons, for their husbands, sometimes for their parents too.
Yeah.
So I think to reduce the tension in the family, it depends pretty much, it depends on the role that the wives play in the family. If they become aggressive, if they want to retaliate every time the husband does something or say something, then we're going to have a problem here. This is going to accelerate the rate of the breakdown of the family and the disintegration of the family. But if they are more patient and more tolerant, and they show and exercise their forgiveness, their love, their compassion, believe me, she would contribute a great deal into the harmony, the stability, and the peace in the family. Because she is the teacher. I have seen many arrogant men who unfortunately do not behave well at home. They abuse their wives, you know, verbal abuse. But then those wives, through their patience, through their manners and adab, and of course it's difficult, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of sacrifice, a lot of patience in this field. But over the years, they were able to create miracles. They were able to change the mood and the behavior of their husbands. They trained them slowly, slowly. They did not retaliate. And the husband, of course, if he's a human being, then he would realize after a period of time, hey, I am cursing her, I am saying this, I am being, you know, verbally abusive here, but she's not saying anything. She's patient. Most of them will change. I'm not saying all of them, because some of them are really very bad. They would not change. Actually, they will take advantage of this. They consider it as a sign of weakness. But most men, they're going to, and sometimes the children too, they're going to understand this slowly, slowly, and they're going to change. And this is what Quran tells us to do. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. It's a mutual. Sometimes the husband has to teach the wife certain things to make her more patient. And sometimes the wife, she has to put her entire effort into this, you know, plan of changing her family and changing her husband. So I think she's the center of compassion. And God has given her this much compassion for a reason, not to appear weak or to give concessions all the time. It's not about that. It's because in her nature, she's not aggressive. God created her for an important role, to build, to create the moral foundations of the family, which is based on love. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. Mawadda is more than love, compassion, and rahmah, which is mercy. And the mother is the center of these things. So she really has to capitalize on what God has given her.
Do you think that, especially, you know, with the next up-and-coming generations, they underestimate this aspect of their role? That
you mean the females?
Yeah. So that they don't have a full understanding of, we could say, the power of compassion.
Yes, I believe that unfortunately in the modern societies and modern days, and this is true in the East and West both, that some women think because they are invited to be equal to men, so they have to treat men the same way men are treating them, which is not right. Which is not right. I mean, men have certain nature and therefore certain behaviors, and women have different nature and they should have different behaviors. And this is why the marriage is between a man and women, not two men, neither two women. So each one of them will integrate and complement the other side. Because men are not perfect, neither women are perfect. Each one has, you know, strengths and weaknesses. So the weaknesses of the men are being fixed, you know, and complemented by the strength of their wives, and vice versa. The weaknesses of the wives are being complemented and integrated by the strength of their husbands. So what you mentioned is very true. Sometimes they say, well, we live in this society, forget about the days, you know, my great-grandmother was very forgiving and she was silent and she was polite and disciplined. No, we have to, you know, this is not good. Women are created as emotional being. Even men are emotional being, we both. But her role in the family, in my opinion, is much greater than the role of the husband. She's the glue that brings the family together. And if this glue is going to be aggressive, you know, then it's not going to be a good glue to bring the members of the family together.
And looking at, again, the role with the children, we know, again, in Western societies, capitalistic societies, that there has been, we could say, a neglect of children's upbringing. I mean, children are stuck in front of the TV, you know, the parents put them in front of the TV, or they give them a computer game or something, or they go off to the childminder all day. Again, so, you know, children are becoming marginalized, and this is, again, leading to social breakdown, a lot of very lost children who don't know what they're meant to be doing, who they are, they don't have any relation with their parents. Again, with regard to women, how can they, especially with the pressures that are on them coming from all different directions. For example, I mean, the media puts a lot of pressure on Muslim women to be career women. You know, there's a lot of criticism on Muslim women because a lot of them do tend to focus more on the family. How can women, you know, find the noble aspect of raising the children and prevent what's happening with their children from what's happening with the rest of society?
I think motherhood is based on sacrifice. And sacrifice does not mean that I have to put this much hours into this project, into this, you know, career, into. It is unlimited, and the journey is very long. And this is, it doesn't mean that women's role is really marginalized, it's not important, you know, men's role is more important. No, I think on the contrary, women and mothers and wives are the ones who are building us, building the whole society. So if they don't put their effort and their sacrifice and their full commitment into building their families, then these families are going to be, you know, very fragile.
Yeah.
Not strong families. So, and unfortunately, sometimes I see some mothers who have small kids, and these kids, they really need attention. They really need their mother's attention. But they neglect them. They assign them to a babysitter to take care of them. They say, well, I'm working, and as you mentioned, I'm focusing on my career, on my job, on my, you know, and I have someone at home. But that someone is not necessarily the right person.
Yeah.
You are the right person. You are the biological mother. The mother, the child, and the husband too. both. They need the mother's attention, the wife's attention. They need your attention. So you have to play this role. You cannot give it, assign it to someone else. So sacrifice is very important in the family. If we really need to build strong family, healthy family, responsible children in the future, then the mother has to act responsibly. If the mother, for her, she says, well, in the marriage, I have this much hours. And I have seen some of them. They say, my career, my friends, my social life, and then my family, which I can put 5 to 6 hours. This is not enough. Your life is your family.
Yeah.
And your role is greater than the role of your husband. Your husband is a breadwinner. But you are the maker of this generation, the producer of strong family, and hence when we have a strong family, we're going to have a strong community and society. So don't say that I allocate certain hours to my family and then the rest for myself. Don't be selfish. When you raise good family, you are benefiting yourself. You are building your own career, because those kids are yours at the end of the day. You built them. So any goodness that they achieve, it comes back to you. You are not going to be a loser.
Yeah.
But if you think in terms of selfishness, well, this is for me, my career, my time, my private time, you're going to lose in the long term. Maybe for the first few years, you're going to enjoy your time socializing with your friends and, but in the long run, when your son leaves you at the age of 14 or 15, he doesn't even acknowledge your motherhood. He would not even call you mom, and he leaves the family. At the end of the day, your friends are not going to help you. You're going to be the biggest loser in this field. So sacrifice is very important for both, because we are speaking about mothers now, or the role of women, but also for men. For men, it's more important to sacrifice their life for their families.
Thank you. And yes, I mean, perhaps I think what we're seeing today is this kind of conflict of pressures. I think definitely the Muslim world is very affected by the culture of the individual that's coming from, again, a capitalistic society, and now we've got this tension between sacrificing for the family and just kind of pursuing our own path that we want to pursue. And so that's sort of creating social instability and breakdown, which again is not good for, if we want to think about the status of women, the role of the girls growing up again in the next generation, because then they are going to be vulnerable to the influence again of society that's coming in. I mean, one thing we also see, we know that all Muslim women know that the women of the Holy Household were righteous and noble women, that as well were knowledgeable and educated and dignified, and that didn't say anything that was irrelevant or unnecessary. And yet when we look at our communities, we see that a lot of the women in our community are quite preoccupied with plotting against each other or speaking badly of each other.
Or wasting their times, in social life. This is true. Women today in the Muslim society, unfortunately, they have no role or very little role because they don't utilize their time.
Right.
They get busy with, some small things, around them, and they don't focus on their role as educators. Most of them, I would not say all of them, most of them, they have very, very busy social life.
Right.
Social life is important, but what is more important is the family life. Family matters at the end of the day, not friends. Friends, they could be your friends for 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30 years, but they don't stand with you forever. When you need them, they are not around. It is the family, the children that you raise. Your husband, your family are the closest people to you. So you have to give to them, and you have to invest on that. And not spend your time, the less we spend time in the social field, the safer we're going to be. Because unfortunately, we are not angels or saints, and there is a lot of backbiting, gossiping, tale-bearing, accusations in the community. So the less you spend time and the less you speak, actually, the safer you're going to be. And rather than spending this time, in this house and that house and leaving this invitation, going to that party, let's substitute that with classes, with lessons, with education, or if we don't want to learn, with the family members, spending time in the house or outside the house, but with our family members.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, I remember again being in a Muslim country, which I'm not going to name.
Please don't.
But being in the company of a woman who wore niqab, but she didn't pray. So adhan would come and go, and she wouldn't pray. But she wore niqab, and when we went out, again, her time was spent socializing. It was socializing.
The niqab, let me say something here. Of course, many women also who wear niqab, they do pray, they do fast. But that particular mother or woman that you saw wearing niqab, this is, for her, is not religious aspect. This is cultural aspect. She probably was raised in a family that her father, her grandfather, her grandmother, they sometimes put pressure on them to wear the niqab or the hijab or the veil, or, and they don't appreciate it themselves. So they grow up, they know they have to put on this dress, but they don't understand its influence, its meaning, its philosophy, and therefore, as a sign of revolt and rebellion against her culture, she doesn't pray, or she doesn't fast, or she doesn't, control herself from doing or saying bad things. So I agree with you. This is unfortunately a disease that which does exist in many Muslim communities and societies, whether they are in the East or sometimes in the West here. Many women, they observe the hijab, but they don't appreciate the meaning of the hijab. Many women, they observe the hijab, they wear it, but they don't behave as muhajjaba, as someone who is wearing the hijab. They don't behave, and hijab is behavior. Before it is, a piece of cloth that women wear, or the niqab, it is the behavior, it is the character, it is how to carry yourself. So I agree with you. Unfortunately, we have, but slowly we have, through the process of education, ta'aleem, we have to remind them. We have to remind them, هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة. This process of refinement, purification comes not without education. They have to be reminded, they have to be told. Sometimes in a personal way, sometimes in a public way, through lectures, through seminars, through workshops, through classes, through lessons, and sometimes through an advice from a friend, from an elder, from a teacher,
And also, as you say, the time that is spent, like this lady, she was a nice lady, but again, time wasn't spent learning or studying or improving the life, the intellectual life of the women. And that was a country where women are not in a good situation anyway. So I think, as you say, that this life is short, and we need to reflect on, well, when I get to the end of my life and I look back, am I going to have made this life something that was worthwhile, something that,
Sometimes women complain they say we love to go to school, we love to learn, we love to study, we love to have books and read, but we don't have time because we are busy with the chores at home, and I have to prepare, you know, breakfast and then lunch and then dinner and then clean up and then, you know, and it's true, it's true. I think women would be able to learn when their fathers before marriage and their husbands after marriage are cooperative. They would really stand with them and they help them. And they want them to learn too. Because sometimes the wife, she wants to learn, but the husband is reluctant. No, your job is at home. Why do you want to learn? There is no need for you. You just wash, you know, the dishes and prepare the food and made this bed and breakfast for me so I can enjoy my life. In this scenario, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We also need to tell the men that it is going to be better for you and your family and your children if your wife is an educated one. And if you leave her in ignorance, you're going to suffer, not just she going to suffer. You're going to suffer, your kids, and ultimately the whole society is going to suffer.
Thank you very much, and I think we just have to wrap up with one point that I wanted to raise for the benefit of many of our viewers, and that is the phenomenon in some of the societies, from the people who are watching, of disfiguring women who might, say, refuse a marriage proposal. This is something that is going on, I mean, across the world, and we have viewers from across the world. Something where a man who's been rejected will feel entitled to throw acid in the face of a woman, disfiguring her for life. And people have shown that if pressure is brought in upon these men, it can be stopped. But I think this is something that needs to be mentioned.
Of course,
I mean,
this is savagery, and this is a crime against humanity. This is unacceptable, completely unacceptable, not only in Islam, in all religions and all cultures. This is a crime. This has to be, men have to be educated on this. That this is a matter of choice. Marriage is a matter of choice. And if you are rejected, it's not the end of the world. You can go and find someone else. So don't take it personal, okay? And don't try to destroy the life of this lady and her family and ultimately the whole society. So, and I think they have to be punished. Those such men who behave in such inhumane, you know, manner, they have to be punished severely to be a lesson for the rest of the society.
Thank you very much, Sayed Qazwini, for a very good discussion with detailed points, and I hope that will be helpful, inshallah, to our audience as well. And we will continue, inshallah, with the next program. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. May Allah bless you.
And thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the program and took a few notes from that. Inshallah, we'll see you in the next program. Assalamu alaikum.